I just have to draw attention to this because it's a little too rich. It's just a little it just draws attention to itself. And okay, what you have here is something from Colin Liddell's site, and Colin Liddell is someone who frequently makes use of the slur conspiratard. He uses conspiratard to define people who see that there's a lot of monkey business going on in the West and amongst the Western powers, who cry foul at inconsistencies in official stories of controversial events. He calls them conspiratards. He does it over and over and over again. They're Russian shills, and they're conspiratards, and they're Russian shills, and they're conspiratards. That's pretty much what Colin has to say. He's pretty much a broken record on this this front. Now I have to say, it's kind of deliciously ironic that Colin himself has no compunction whatsoever about becoming a quote-unquote conspiratard himself, if the conspiracy that he sees derives from somewhere other than the West. He thinks that, in other words, he thinks that people who believe that Western powers, Western governments, Western media, Western oligarchs, that people who think that they're up to no good and that there's more going on than meets the eye, well, they're just conspiratards. But if it's the Kremlin, if it's Russia, then who becomes the conspiratard? Who puts on the conspiratard superhero costume? But Colin Liddell, the surprisingly convenient post-election black swan event in Russia. Okay, so this is he doesn't really go into the matter much himself, but he in this brief article he links to somebody who has who says too many questions to the authorities, and Colin adds, Tashkent-based Russian vlogger Inside Russia casts a skeptical eye at the terrorist attack, quote-unquote, in Russia. Well, it was a terrorist attack, right? I mean, even regardless of who the terrorist was, it was, anyway, maybe that's a little point to get too bent out of shape over. The terrorist attack in Russia and the Kremlin's developing, quote, response to it. It's not a response. Colin's kind of going crazy, going overboard with these quotes. Even if their response wasn't what you think it should be, it was a response. It was a response. Anyhow, why was security so lax? Why were Western warnings ignored? Why did it take over an hour for security forces to respond? Is this all a part of Putin's attempt to put Russia on a total war footing? All right, I don't know the answers to those questions. I want to make that very clear. I'm not calling Colin Liddell a conspiratard for asking those questions. I think those are worthy questions to ask. So, unlike Colin Liddell, who would take anything I wrote, anything that I said, and say, oh, there's Nowicki being pathetic again, being schizophrenic again, being his conspiratard self, that's what Liddell would do with me and with others, but I think especially take special delight in doing with me. Unlike him, I don't see these questions as, unworthy of being asked, and I don't know the answer to those questions. And I'm open to the idea that there was some fuckery going on with the Kremlin. I'm open to that possibility. What I just find to be curious, and let me just, I think calling it curious is sort of being passive aggressive here. I think that it's pretty sorry on Colin Liddell's part to be open to these kinds of questions only when it serves an anti-Russia agenda, but to think in every other case, oh well, it's just conspiratards. If it's people talking about Western governments doing, CIA, State Department, what have you, NATO. If you talk about NATO fuckery or CIA fuckery, then he just calls you a conspiratard. But it's okay to talk. I mean, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. If being a quote unquote conspiratard is stupid, then it should be stupid no matter who you're talking about, no matter what government you're talking about. But apparently with Colin, it's only okay to be a quote unquote conspiratard when the Kremlin is accused of being behind some conspiracy. Isn't that interesting? That's all I got to say.